We are Mastis and Rabbi Akiva. Mastis and Rabbi Akiva, which is 5 lines down. First one in line. Okay? Mastis and Rabbi Akiva. Our Mishnah is going like Rabbi Akiva. Let me just find a place in here because he does find this chiefly useful for the different gersos he has in here. A lot of nice gerso changes. Mastis and Rabbi Akiva. Our Mishnah is going like Rabbi Akiva. The low, the low Rabbi Yishmael, not like Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Yishmael darshans the about Ma'aser Sheni says, you should give the money, in other words, to purchase all that your heart desires. That's a klal, generalization. Babakar with Simon, that's a prat, the specification. Bayan of sheikhar, wine and beer. Prat, I'm sorry, Bakar Tzayah Sheikh Yain Prat, that's all the specification. B'chol Tava Nafshcha, anything heart desires, Harei Klal Acher, that's another cloud, another generalization. So it's Klal Prat to Klal. Yata Dara L'Keira Prat has to be similar to the Prat. Ma Prat Mefurish Dovershu Vlad, Vlados Aretz. The Vlad is something which is born. Not necessarily born, but grows from something else, and it grows from the ground, because even bucker and sown, even meat and even cattle and sheep grow from the land. They eat off the land. Right. So to anything else that you want to purchase from Ma'aser Sheni has to be something which grows from the land, or has born and grows from the land. Rabbi Akiva Mefarish, Rabbi Akiva is the author, therefore, of Mishnah, because our Mishnah said you can even take salt water. So salt water is certainly not something which grows from the land, right? It doesn't grow, and it's not a child of anything, so that certainly can't be included. So Rabbi Akiva Mefarish Ma'aprat Mefurish Davar Shu Pri, just like the prat is explicit something which is a fruit. Vlad Peri, or comes from a fruit, umachshire pire, or is suitable, or makes a fruit taste better. Any of those. Okay? So anything which is any type of food stuff, essentially, altogether, with the exception of actual salt. We excluded actual salt, and there's one other thing we excluded in the Mishnah. I forgot what the other thing was. But, what do we exclude besides salt? Something else we excluded. Water. Salt and water, right. What is now salt and water? So these are not considered to be fruit or machshir pre-period, those things which prepare fruit. Manafik mi beneon, and there's several other, what are the differences between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva? Difference between Rabbi Shmuel and Akiva is dogim v'chagovim. Fish and grasshoppers. It seems that grasshoppers or locusts is a mistake, because grasshoppers do grow from the land. In other words, they do eat off the land. But fish, they don't grow off the land, they grow off the water, right? And so kmein, pitrios, and mushrooms and truffles, which of course derive their nourishment not from photosynthesis, but rather derive their nourishment from the air. Rabbi Akiva, nichim b'kesem Ma'aser Sheni. According to Rabbi Akiva, they can be acquired through kesem Ma'aser Sheni because they qualify for pri and vlad pri and machshir peri, even though they're not from the oretz specifically. Amar Rabbi Chagai. Rabbi Chagai said, Masnisin Amar Kain. Our Mishnah says this. Now, this is referring back to what we learned last week. Masnisin Amar Kain, that one is not allowed to take fruit outside Yerushalayim, and not allowed to take money outside Yerushalayim and buy fruit with it. Only in Yerushalayim, not outside Yerushalayim. She'ein mechalimos al peiros, she'ein mechalimos al peiros berichu kamakom. It seems from our Mishnah that it says that you're not allowed to acquire fruit outside Yerushalayim, because it says you have to. It says in our Mishnah, it says, well, what's the lashon exactly? The lashon of Mishnah is, what is it? Second. Yeah. Now, Mishnah said, Halokeach. If you take a look back in the Mishnah, which is on Vav and Beis, it says, Halokeach, Mayim Melchu, Peres, L'chorin, L'chach, Peres, She'em, L'chorin, L'kil, Yerushalayim, Lokon, Ma'aser, Halokeach, Peros, if you bought the pairs shogeg in shogeg yachzu doim l'koimam, unintentionally you bought pairs out of Yerushalayim, this is right, which einam yichoyim lagil Yerushalayim. So but the evet, so the money goes back and the sale is null and void. So it seems quite clear that you're not supposed to buy outside Yerushalayim, right? It says what happens if you did it? Alokeach but the evet, but the chadchila you're not supposed to do it. It's quite clear from our Mishnah, it seems. So Amra Kumi Rabbi Avina, getting back to the Gemara 4 lines to the bottom. Amra Kumi Rabbi Avina, so they said that it's from Rabbi Avina. The cow say, and he praised the Ryan for a Mishnah. Amra Kumi Rabbi Yirmiyah, he said the Ryan for Yirmiyah, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Chagai said the Ryan for Yirmiyah, the Kantere, and he made fun of it. He mocked it. Why did he mock it? Not for the Mishnah itself, but rather from another Mishnah. And didn't we learn later in the Masechta, Mos B'Yushalayim, Upeiros b'Medina. It says that you're allowed to use money in Yerushalayim to acquire fruit which is outside Yerushalayim. Hey, that means you're allowed to buy the fruit outside Yerushalayim, right? Not so we see clearly that it is permissible. There it's different. Shahaya, now here the Gra changes the Gears of Shaya, Be'echad b'makom. One of them was in the right place. In other words, either the fruit or the money's got to be in Yerushalayim. If the money's in Yerushalayim and the fruit is outside Yerushalayim, that's good enough. If the money's in outside Yerushalayim and the fruit is in Yerushalayim, that's good enough too. But in order to use money to buy fruit, one of the two commodities, either the money or the fruit, has got to be in Yerushalayim. Okay? Which is very interesting. I don't know how that could fit into the halacha d'oraisa, but that's what it's saying. I guess it has to, one of them already has to have the kedusha of Yerushalayim in order to be able to acquire with the money upon which you redeem Ma'aser Sheni fruit.
How do we even have that scenario? That means you have to have brought up your money.
Yeah.
Come into Yerushalayim and then have to go back.
Arrange with somebody in Yerushalayim to buy his fruit, which is somewhere else. Right. You've made a deal with him. Okay? Karnafik Rabbi Chagai. Rabbi Chagai went out. That was just, he said, Misvara on the spot. He was stuck. Rabbi Yirmiyah started making fun of him. So he said on the spot, when he went out, Ashkach, he found a brisa, Tani, which says, Mosu pays Yerushalayim. It says the money and fruits is in Yerushalayim. Mosu pays Yerushalayim, Mosu pays Medina. Now, it's a funny brisa. I forget if he doesn't really change the girsa, but he does change the girsa. Yeah, he changed the girsa to no, he doesn't. It says. No, okay, I misunderstood when I prepared. Okay, no, he found the brisa which went against him. Sorry, he found the brisa which went against him. Ashkach Tani Mosu pays Yerushalayim, that if the money and fruit is Yerushalayim, it's good, and Mosu pays Medina. If the money and fruit is in outside Yerushalayim, it's also good. Now, it's not like Rabbi Chagai. This price is going like Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah is the one who said you can buy fruits even outside Yerushalayim. Rabbi Chagai went out and found a brisa taka which says explicitly that money and fruit outside Yerushalayim is also good. Omar, he said, in have a shmir Rabbi Yirmiyah hada milsa. If Rabbi Yirmiyah had heard this brisa, yos kantere, he certainly would have been mocked me even with greater strength. Boy michzer bey. So Itaka, Rabbi Chagai wanted to renege. He wanted to be chayzer. He said, looks like I made a mistake. Sounds like he didn't redeem the fruit outside Yerushalayim. He buy fruit outside Yerushalayim. Amarle Rabbi Zir said, lo tachzer bach. Don't renege. Dam Rabbi Lezer said, the Rabbi Meir Rabbanim b'dmai, that this which says you can buy fruit with the money even outside Yerushalayim is only when it's d'mai. When it wasn't true bona fide Ma'aser Sheni from certain tevel, but Ma'aser Sheni from Demai, something which was questionable. Then Chazal or Meitel, they said you could buy even use the money to buy fruit outside Yerushalayim. But when it's definite Ma'aser Sheni, the Raisa, so then you can only buy fruit in Yerushalayim. Min Mata Amar Rabbi Imi. Now it's not Rabbi Eliezer. The Ridbaz says from that which Rabbi Imi said. The Rabbi Meir he Hadam Rahid my Hada Vadai. And you should know an additional thing that according to Rabbi Meir, it's the same thing is true about the Mai and Vadai. Meaning, Rabbi Meir has a shita that if you eat Trumas Ma'aser of the Mai, you're Gzor, and eat Trumas Ma'aser of the Mai, so you have to pay Karen and Chomesh. You have to pay the additional fifth, just as if you rate regular Trumas Ma'aser from definite Tevel. So Meir holds that the true Tevel, the Mai and Vada have the same halacha. So according to Meir, even by the Mai, you wouldn't be allowed to eat it, to buy fruit with the Ma'aser Sheni money outside Yerushalayim. Okay, that's what Rabbi Imi says is Rabbi Meir Shita. Rabbi Tzvi Avi Yosef. Rabbi Zida was sitting, and Masi is teaching his son the following halacha. Harotza chala mosa peros. Somebody wants to take away to redeem the kedusha of his money on fruit. Bisman hazeh, in our day and age, ben elu kodshu kedivrei Beis Shammai. Both of them are kodesh. Now, why is that? Because bisman hazeh, there's no place you can't eat the fruit. There's talking about when there's no Yerushalayim to eat the fruit in, right? This is the time when Yerushalayim was destroyed. So there's no Yerushalayim to eat the fruit in at the time. So therefore, where are you going to eat the fruit? Nowhere, right? So if you use the Ma'aser Sheni money and actually buy fruit with it, Beis Shammai says, we sock it to you. Both the money and the fruits are kadosh. You have to get rid of both of them. You have to bury them, you have to burn them, you can't do anything with them. Okay? That's Rabbi Beis Shammai Shita. Beis Hillel Omri Mos Kamoshen Peros Kamoshen. Beis Hillel says the whole transaction is null and void. Buying fruit from Ma'aser Sheni nowadays is meaningless because there's no way to eat it. So therefore the transaction, I assume it's Hefker based in Hefker. Because with the rice, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't work. Or perhaps it's so based and nullified the transaction, or perhaps it's all Ma'aser Sheni Rabbanim Bisman Hazeh. So hey Mamru v'hei Mamru. They said you take Ma'aser Sheni. They said you redeem it. You can't use the money in our day and age to buy other fruit. But be that as it may, Beis Hillel says the whole transaction is null and void. Okay. Of our Rabbi Crispa. So Rabbi Crispa passed by. Amarle, so he said, Lo Tanisa Kain. Didn't we learn that? Didn't we learn this way? It says, Ela Peros Alamos. Wait, I think he's asking a question. 1 second. Yeah, he's correcting. Amarle, so he said, Lo Tanisa Kain, don't learn it that way. That's what he meant to say. Don't learn it that way. Ella, Peros Alamos. The whole machlokas Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai is whether you could be mechalel Peros on mos in our day and age. So there's a concept of redemption of Peros on money. Hamos ala Peros, but everybody agrees that if you try to use money of Ma'aser Sheni to acquire fruit, Divrei Hakol Lo Kodesh. Even Beis Shammai concedes that it's not kodesh. So ask the Gemara Batina, how can you say this? Did we learn explicitly Imein Mikdash Yir Kavu? If there's no Beis HaMikdash, the fruit casts the rot, and we're talking, it seems, about fruit which is acquired with money in Ma'aser Sheni, which seems to indicate that at least somebody holds that the deal goes through. So it says, Tipot, this type of case, Sheikdisham B'Shas Mikdash, when you consecrate the fruit at the time when there's a Beis HaMikdash, the Chora Mikdash and the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. Rahman al-Islam, at that time in history, that point in history, that fruit, you can't redeem it anymore, because once it really was shaykh to going to the Beis HaMikdash, and after the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, you're now no longer allowed to redeem it, so that fruit must be rotted. It has to be rotted and buried.
Similar we have in Zvachim.
Right, carbonas, which are around when the basement is destroyed. Tani Ben Bibi, we learned Ben Bibi says, V'nosata, so it's hope for Netanyahu, his son can make it into the Yerushalmi. It's amazing. Tani Ben Bibi, V'nosata sa kesef, Here they changed the girsi of Nasata Bakesef. They changed, so it's different pasuk. Nasata Bakesef. Berichuk Mokom Ata Podeu. When you're far away from Yerushalayim, you can redeem Ma'aser Sheni. You redeem it, you put it on money. This is where we paskin. Bekiruv Mokom and Ata Podeu. You can, when you're near, that means in Yerushalayim, you cannot redeem Ma'aser Sheni. This is true even Bisman Hazeh. Those who live within the walls of the old city, if they take off Ma'aser Sheni because they buy fruit which wasn't Ma'aser properly, there's no redemption. They have to actually bury it or burn it or whatever the case may be. You only can redeem outside the walls of Yerushalayim, berichuk makom, not inside Yerushalayim. Okay, there's no redemption process. Once it gets in, that's it. Vice versa. Bekiruv makom ata mechalelo. When you're in Yerushalayim, you can buy fruit with the money. And here's the drasha d'oraisa, even though it seems that the previous Amoraim weren't learning this d'oraisa, but here's the actual drasha. Bekiruv makom ata mechalelo. When in Yerushalayim, you can buy fruit with your Ma'aser Sheni money. V'ata mechalelo berichuk makom. When you're far away from Yerushalayim, you cannot buy fruit with your Ma'aser Sheni money. Okay, so podeh means to redeem the fruit on money. Mechalel means to take the money and buy fruit. So you far away from Yerushalayim, you can redeem the fruit on money, but you cannot use the money to buy fruit. In Yerushalayim, it's the exact opposite. You cannot redeem Ma'aser Sheni fruit, but you can use the money which you brought from outside Yerushalayim in Yerushalayim to buy fruit in lieu of the Ma'aser Sheni. Okay?
I assume the reason why far away you couldn't buy the fruit was because it would rot by the time you got to Yerushalayim.
Well, here's there's a kosov. Beforehand, we had in the Mishnah, it sounded like it was really because it's going to rot. That's what the Mishnah said, right? This has to do with Yecholim Lagil Yerushalayim and Lo Yechol Lagil Yerushalayim. Here, it seems like Ben Bibi is arguing our Mishnah. It's a brisa. It's okay. He can argue. It seems that he holds that it's a d'oraisa. It's not just a gzeira d'rabbanan. It's a d'oraisa. You cannot buy fruit outside Yerushalayim. Okay? Nasata bakesef. When you're far away from Yerushalayim, all you can do is redeem for money, not use the money to buy fruit.
So Bisman Hazeh, how far away is far away?
Outside where the walls hypothetically were.
So you could live in by Vagan.
Yeah, and then you could do it, right? The question is the area like in Musrara, which is right near, which was pashtus inside the wall of Yerushalayim when there was a Beis HaMikdash. So what's the status over there? But for sure, if you live in the Rova, then you can't redeem Ma'aser Sheni. Okay? Rabbi Yossi B'Shem Shmuel says, Nikne Hamekach. Now, there's all funny kinds of ways of reading this. It's not clear exactly how to read it. Let's try reading it with the let's try reading it the way the what you call reads it, the Chaim Kanievsky. This is a new sugya. They're back in our Mishnah. Take a look at the Mishnah. See, this is the type of place where the Kavanaki would have divided it up, and the Mishnah put it into two Mishnahs. It said at the end of our Mishnah, at the end of Vav and Beis, the first wide line of Vav and Beis. Mr. Zuga, take a look back on Vav and Beis for a minute. In the first wide line, the Mishnah says, "Ein lochim." By the way, I see that the Pnei Moshe also intended to do like the Kavanaki. Just that the printers of the Shas didn't do like him, because you see the Pnei Moshe here on the bottom of the page has Masnisin. His parish on the end of the Mishnah, he put here on the middle of page 14, Zayin Base, even though it's going way back on the Mishnah on Zvav on base. So what the printers of the Yerushalmi did is that the Pnei Moshe intended to do like Kavanaki and break up Mishnahs, but they just ignored him. So they kept, but instead, it's real wacky what they did. They kept his order, even though they didn't in a commentary, even though they didn't use it in printing the actual text. Okay, strange. Okay, you see that? Okay, so it says back in the Mishnah, "Ein lochim avodim v'karkos v'behem atzmeya midmei Ma'aser Sheni." You're not allowed to buy avodim and karka and behem atzmeya from Ma'aser Sheni money. If you did, you have to eat corresponding to their value. Ein mevin kinei zavim v'vavam beis in the Mishnah. Third wide line. Emivin kinei zavim v'zavos all these karbonos v'kinla yodos midmei Ma'aser Sheni v'imhei v'yochal connected. If you did, you have to eat corresponding to their value. Zaklau. was the general principle, anything which is not used for eating, drinking, or anointing. You do it for Ma'aser Sheni money. You have to eat corresponding to that value of fruit in Yerushalmi. Now, he says, a very interesting thing. Look, Rabbi Yisrael Shmuel says, but nikna mekach, the korban is a valid korban. Says you have to eat corresponding to the value of the korban. But the korban is a valid korban, so it must mean that it did go through. That the Ma'aser Sheni money did make a valid purchase of the korban. How does that work? Right? I mean, he's observing that it does work. Now the Gemara is going to ask Taka, what are the mechanics? Rabbi Chanina says, Kipoide. I forgot what that means. He says here that means yeah, he says that it doesn't work. Just like he says, Kipoide means that just like you can't, just like you cannot buy, you cannot be mechalel money in the you cannot be mechalel money, meaning that you can't you've money of Ma'aser Sheni, you can't say, well, let it take effect on these avodim or these korbanos and so on and so forth. It doesn't work. It's a meaningless gesture because it has to dafka buy fruit which or shlomim, but not any other type of korban such as a korban chatos. So here too, even if you try to do it as a purchase, right? He said nikna mekach. That was Rabbi Shmuel's diuk, is that you do it as a purchase. The purchase goes through. So he's saying, says Rabbi Yisrael, it doesn't work. Just as if you try to. The truth is, he uses the word poida differently than he used it before. Before we used the word poida to mean that you take the fruit and you redeem the fruit on money. Here we're using the word poida to mean that you're using the money and acquiring fruit.
Didn't we say that was mechalel?
That's called mechalel, yeah, so he's using it differently. He's talking using the word differently.
Maybe it's interchangeable.
What? Maybe. No, that's what it seems. That's what it seems.
You know, the Pnei Moshe doesn't say it's kipoda. He says
Kipra. See, he changed the girsa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like that girsa. Yeah. Let's take the Pnei Moshe's girsa. Yeah, because like the Reb Chaim Kanievsky, the way I explained it, chilul and kipoda are the same thing. That's bad. He just glosses over that. I like this. The Pnei Moshe changes the girsa. Rabbi Yisrael ben Chanina says kipra. That was it makes it one word and changes it to a reish, not kipoida. Kipra. Kipra means it's mechaper, meaning the korban is mechaper, which means he's not arguing. He's confirming that the korban works. Yeah, very good. Shkoyach. So that way we don't have to say poida is lav dafka. Very good. So kipra, it's mechaper. So Rabbi Hila, and Rabbi Hila goes on. He says also, madatzina yoichel kenegdon. It says you got to eat whatever the value of the korban is. Hodam rakideshu. That means the korban is a valid korban. All these people are saying that the korban is a valid korban. Right? They're all saying the same thing. So Taki, how does it work? It's a kasha. How can it work such a thing? How can you acquire for Ma'aser Sheni money something which is going to be a korban? It's not unless it's going to be shlamim, which the Torah condones. So Rabbi Yisrael said it's not a kasha. I'll tell you, it's two separate transactions. Once you acquired the animal, the whatever it was, the bird, so that's a valid transaction because at the time all you did is acquire a bird. The bird is edible. That's sufficient transaction. From there on in, it's a separate designation for korban. It's a two-stage process. First, you acquire it for the Ma'aser Sheni, and then you make it into a korban. That's not really permitted. You're not supposed to do that because once you got it in Ma'aser Sheni, you should either eat it, right, or sacrifice shlamim if it's something which is susceptible to shlamim. But the reason why it works is because first you acquired it and then you were mekadosh it. Now I assume this is going like Rabbi Yehuda. It's Ma'aser Sheni's moment hediot. Ma'aser Sheni's money, Ma'aser Sheni belongs to you. Otherwise, I don't know what the head to do this is. Because like Rabbi Meir says, Ma'aser Sheni moment gavoa. right? It shouldn't work at all, right? So I'm assuming it's going like Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda said, "Shehu tzorich lachzor lakdisho." Not only is the second sin, not only is the second acquisition, you have to be mekadosh it over again, right? You have to do a addition. The mekadosh is a korban. You have to say after you acquired it, even though you had a mind to acquire it as a korban, it doesn't work at that time, because then the only right you have to acquire it is to acquire it in lieu of the Ma'aser Sheni as an edible foodstuff, right? Later on, once you acquired it, so then if you say, and now I want to make it into korban, that makes it into vow korban, even though it's shelo kedin. You weren't supposed to. Yocha Kenegdon, you still have to take other foodstuff and eat it as Ma'aser Sheni, because you weren't supposed to make it into a korban. But that second stage makes it a korban. Again, Shehu Savar Lomar Shema Kichu, he thought the first time when he bought it, it was Mekadosh it, Velo Kichu, but when is it actually Mekudash? Only when he verbally specifies it later on. So all these Tanoim, really, Amoraim, are all explaining the same principle. That really, it becomes a vow korban. But not that it becomes a vow korban the moment you purchase it, because you have no right to purchase anything with Ma'aser Sheni money as a korban unless it's a korban shlomi, not as a chatos or nosham and oil or anything of that sort. So how does it work? First, you acquire it, and then after you acquire it, you're mekadosh it a second time. And although you're not supposed to do that, it does take effect b'diavad. Okay? Hajlach Ma'aser Sheni.
Just a strange structure of the Gemara to do it this way.
Yes, I guarantee you that there are many other interpretations here. There's a very long Ritbaz, and I certainly didn't want to look at it. But yes, so there's so many people all agreeing with each other. There's something fishy here.
Something's fishy.
Yeah. Okay. Ma'aser Sheni nitan la'achila. Ma'aser Sheni is given over to eat, l'shasiya, to drink, l'sicha, and to anoint yourself, to rub yourself with the oil. Lecho is called davar shadar kol ochel, is anything which is the derech to eat. Losuch, and to anoint called davar shadar kol losuch, anything which is normally anointed. Lo yasuch yain v'chom, it's not allowed to anoint yourself therefore with wine or with vinegar, which is not normally anointed. Avosach is a shemad, but you can use oil. Ein mefat min shemen shel Ma'aser Sheni, one cannot put other spices and herbs into the oil of Ma'aser Sheni because you change its taste, and it seems like that's not a proper procedure. And you cannot buy with Ma'aser Sheni oil which has had its taste changed by adding all sorts of herbs, because it's not the derech to do with oil. So if it's infused with some other flavor, that's not good. But it seems that with wine, you're allowed to do that. And again, I guess because the question of derech achila, derech shasiya. Nosim b'socha dvash with the tavlin, you can put it within it oil, honey and spices. And if now it's better, so then based on the additional value, that's the value of the Ma'aser Sheni. That's the value of the Ma'aser Sheni. Now, the Gemara is going to explain exactly what that means. But when you come to redeem the Ma'aser Sheni, let's say you did this outside Yerushalmi, right? You thought you were going to take the wine up to Yerushalmi. You harvested, you got wine, made Ma'aser Sheni wine of it, and you thought you were going to take it up to Yerushalmi, right? So in the meantime, you put all sorts of spices in it. So now it had some value. Say originally the wine by itself was worth $4 to $3, and the spices by themselves are worth $1, and together now they're worth $5. So when you redeem it proportionally, right? It's a portion of 3 to 1, right? So you make that 3 to 1 proportion in the $5, which means that the Ma'aser Sheni is like 3 and whatever. You get the idea. It's 3 point something versus 1 point something for the herbs. So you make the proportion in the additional added value, which comes out as a result of your having mixed them together. Similarly, if you cooked fish together with kaflutos or some sort of vegetables of Ma'aser Sheni, v'yishbichu, and they now taste better. Hashvach l'fi cheshbon, you also make the same cheshbon. However, isa shel Ma'aser Sheni, if you had a dough Ma'aser Sheni sha'af your pots which you baked, v'yishbichu, and you put in yeast, which obviously made it rise and made it taste better, hashvach l'sheni, there everything goes to the Ma'aser Sheni. Why? Because there's no.
You can't separate it.
Right, you can't separate. It's not you see the fish, right? You see the spices. You see the stuff which is not Ma'aser Sheni in the previous two cases. In this case, you don't see the yeast, so therefore you don't take into account the entire loaf is considered to be the value of Ma'aser Sheni.
The spices don't take on the kedusha of the Ma'aser Sheni?
No, not for redemption purposes.
Yeah, that's right.
The made for Yerdei purposes, but once you redeem it, it becomes chulin anyway. The question is how much you have to pay to redeem. Zeklau, this is a general principle. Kosher shivcha nikar, anytime you can tell that it's gotten better. Hashvach lefi cheshbon. Well, anytime, it doesn't mean you can tell it got better. It means where you can tell what made the shevach. But you can see the spices separate. You can see the fish separate. So then you make a proportional cheshbon. Wherever you can't see the separate component, the yeast is not apparent. Hashvach l'sheni. Everything is considered part and parcel of the Ma'aser Sheni. Okay? Says Gemara, Ma'aser Sheni nitan l'chila, allowed to eat Ma'aser Sheni. Nitan l'chila, how do you know you're allowed to eat it? Shekoseh bo achila, because it says you can eat it. It says to eat Ma'aser Sheni. Ushasiyan, how do you know you're allowed to drink it? Shasiya bichlal achila, drinking is part of eating. Minayin shasiya bichlal achila, how do we know that drinking is part of eating? Rabbi Yoina shamal minado. Yes, this is a kshas sugya. We had, I don't know if we had in brachos. Did we have brachos? It appears a couple of times in Bavli. Yeah, Yuma and other places. What? Shvuos. Yeah, it says here Shvuos, but it is a shas sugya. Says Umar, I don't know that drinking is including in eating. Rabbi Yerushalmi Ma'aser learns it from the following. It says, I said to the Jews, Kol nevesh mikem, any soul among you, lo yochal dam, shouldn't eat blood. What's wrong with that picture? You see, we lane and never pay attention, right? Blood is not edible. You don't eat blood, you drink blood. Anybody notice that? Of course not. Neither did I. Okay, mano kayamin. What are we talking about? Im bedam shekorash. Maybe you'll say we're talking about congealed blood. On the contrary, for a time we learn dam shekorash, congealed blood, ain't lo ochav lo mashke. It's neither food nor beverage. So can we talk about congealed blood? What are we talking about here? Kimoshu, as is. The Torah calls the act of drinking, eating. So we see, Shisias b'chal chila. Now it says more, wait a minute. Vatani, you can't say this. We learn a brayso. If you dissolved fat, and now it's a liquid, and then you swallowed it, or hikpas adam, you can shield blood. V'achloni ate it, I raise a chayev. You're chayev. You see that congealed blood, you take a chayev. Now the girsa starts getting messed up. Okay? So now the Gra changes the girsa to, we see ma avad law, that we still have, right? Ma avad law, what are we going to do with this price? So then he changes it to Eino Ochav Lo Mashke, blood which is congealed is not we just saw before that it's not food nor drink. So what are you going to do? Here it says you are chayiv. How do we reconcile that which you said before? It's not food nor drink. Right? He said dam shkor shein lochav lo mashke. Here it says if you do eat it, so it's considered to be a food still. You do get malchus. So how do we reconcile the two? I'll tell you. Eno lo ochel l'tamei tumas ochlin. It's not a foodstuff that is not metame tumas ochlin. Meaning, in fact, tumas ochlin, it becomes ochel with machshava, designation. Nobody designates food as being, blood as being food. So it's not makabel tuma. When you get curry, it's not for eating it, that's because of the Yoredeus. Tuma doesn't have. It's not tuma, it doesn't have tumas eichlin. For lo mashkin also doesn't have, it's not considered beverage, l'tami tumas mashkin. That too is contingent on designation as food or beverage, and it's not designated as food or beverage. So we're stuck. We don't have, from lo sochal dam, we don't have a raya that drinking is called eating. Because there, taka could be going on congealed blood. Because we just said you are chayiv on congealed blood. Right? We said it's not called, it's called an act, it's called an act of eating blood when you eat congealed blood. That which congealed blood is not called food, it's only vis-a-vis Tumah and Tahara. But vis-a-vis drinking and eating blood, this is called eating blood. So Ken Zion, it's possible to say that when the pasuk asert eating blood, a taka asert eating congealed blood. How do we know that Shasiyah is Bichlal Achila? We don't know. So it says the Gemara Chazer Rabbi Yerushalmi Ma'aser Sheni. Rabbi Yerushalmi went back and heard it from here. Now the pasuk goes on. The pasuk, this is classic Yerushalmi, the brides from the rest of the pasuk. It says, use the money to buy anything you want from Ma'aser Sheni Yerushalayim. By bakar v'atzon, by yain uv'asheichar, with cattle, with sheep, with wine and with beer, v'achalta, and you should eat it. So it says about wine and beer, v'achalta, to eat it. Okay? Manon kayamin, what are you talking about? Even as in time yain b'tav shuv, about where you put the wine into a cooked dish and you're eating the wine in that way. It says no, that you're not allowed to have a low tam of gamu. That's like we said in the Mishnah. Now to put wine into a dish. Wine and Ma'aser Sheni you can't put into a cooked dish. It's not you eating the wine the proper way. That would not be a proper thing to do with Ma'aser Sheni. So it must be that drinking is called eating. It says more no. Rabbanan the Kisar Namiti Potter maybe
It's a low tam pogum.
Tam of gamu.
Which is that's not saying that's not the normal way of doing that. Just saying.
Yeah, it's that. You're right. You're right. I didn't translate it properly. Hatam v'gamu means it's a negative manifestation. That's why it's no good, and therefore that leaves Rabbanan Ketzon and say so. Tepoter say so about bilin uznaya v'gam zuzaya. Maybe it's so about uznaya rice and gam zuzaya, some other type of food called tafel achil kechil, where the wine is true. You mix it in and it's tafel, but it's good. Those are dishes which are improved with wine, chicken with wine sauce, whatever the case may be. So maybe taka, when the Torah said eat wine in Yerushalayim, it meant eat wine. Taka, it's only talking about a case where you're eating it, not drinking it. I still don't know that drinking is like eating. Rabbi Yossi Shamala min Achos. Rabbi Yossi learns it out from here. Shvua shlo achal. Person took an oath not to eat. V'achal v'shasa, and he ate and he drank. Now here's a big years of change. Here it's Eino Chayav El Achas. Take out the Chayav Shtayim Chevraya Oimrin. Take that all out. Eino Chayav El Achas. It's only Chayav one. So we see that Shasi and Achila, same thing. Because you took a shvur not to eat. And he ate and he drank. And he only Chayav one. So what do we see here? That Shasi is Bichlal Achila and a Chayav El Achas. Amalon Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said to them, it's no raya. Amrit the Basra. Look at the next case there. It says Shvur Shlo Ochal Ve'eshte. A person took a shvur that he's not going to eat and drink. Ve'ochal v'shasa, and he ate and drank. Chayav Shtayim. He's Chayav 2. So says the Gemara. Yeah, if you're going to say Shasiyah, it's like Achila. Why is he Chayav 2? Should be like a shvur. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat. So why is he Chayav 2? Should only be Chayav 1. It's a raya that eating and drinking are separate. Says Gemara, no. Next line is an answer. If a person had in front of him 2 loaves, he said, I'm not going to eat this one, and I'm not going to eat this one. Was he not chayiv 2? Here too. That's not a raya that Shasi and Achila are the same thing. Are not the same thing.
He didn't violate the shvur.
What?
He didn't violate a shvur totally.
No, he did. No, that's the whole point. Rabbi Yossi wants to say from the fact that if you say, I'm not going to eat and drink, I'm chayav, not going to eat and drink, and then you eat and drink, you're chayav 2, that Achila and Shasiyah are not the same thing, right? That they're 2 separate things. So you're saying it's not 2 separate things. Could be Achila and Shasiyah are the same thing. What's it like? It's like if I say, I'm not going to eat this loaf, I'm not going to eat that loaf. Those are both ma'asim of Achila, right? I'm chayav on each one independently, though, right? So here too, Achila and Shasiyah could both be considered eating, but they're 2 separate foodstuffs. So therefore I transgress 2 separate shvuos. Not because they're 2 separate things halachically, but they're 2 separate activities in this case.
The scenario should be where he says, I'm not going to eat, and then he eats and drinks.
Right. And that was the first case. In that case, we said, he's only chayav 1. That's correct. But Rabbi Yossi taught the end of the Mishnah, argued in the beginning of the Mishnah. And we're explaining it's consistent. That taka, eating and drinking are all considered to be eating. But this is the end of the Mishnah talking about, so he said two successive things. I'm not going to eat and I'm not going to drink. Exactly. Okay? Rabbi Chananya b'shem Rabbi Chasham Laminocha. Where do you learn out from? That eating is included in drinking from here. Shvuah shlo ochal. Drink is including eating. Shvuah shlo ochal. A person takes an oath not to eat. V'achal ochlim she'enim ruim la'achila, and he ate food which is not suitable for eating. V'shasa mashkim she'enim ruim l'shasir. He drank drinks which are not suitable for drinking. But not considered achila shasir. But it sounds like ha'im shasa mashkin sharuim l'shasir chayav. If he's to drink stuff which is suitable to drink, right? Then he's chayav, right? Which sounds like sounds like even lo b'shvua. Even is it not even in the shvua shelo ochal that he's not going to eat? That even in that case, if he drinks afterwards, mashkin, which are roy l'shasir, is chayav. In other words, it sounds like, why is he exempt when he says a shvu shlo ochal? Only because he drank beverages which are not suitable. But if he drank beverages which are suitable to drink, so even if his shvu was shlo ochal, that in and of itself would be enough to be mechayev him. So we see that drink is including eating. Says the Gemara, nicha b'mas nisin. This is a good raya from our Mishnah. You have a raya that that drinking is including in eating. Okay, that's a good raya. Now we changed the gear again. The Rashi relay will change the gear severely. Again, let me start that line again. The non marin we see here shvuah shlo ochal. Shvuah shlo ochal includes drinking. Baram, however, kirebi. Like Rebbe, the iu should be the iu mar. He said shvuah shlo ochal v'shlo eshta, that there's two separate shvuahs, a shvuah that I won't eat and that I won't drink. So like him, it's not a raya, because he was goreis in that Mishnah that there are two separate shvuahs we're talking about. One is that I won't eat and one is I won't drink. So therefore, they're two separate things. Okay.
Gemara doesn't entertain in the Mishnah when it says about drinking, it's really helping you eat.
No, not
it's
one
like
ever.
Washing down food.
No.
In which case it would be the same.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It seems Rechina learned out from the following. This is on Yom Kippur. You ate and drank in the same forgetfulness. You're chayav only one korban, right? You ate and drank. It's two separate things. So if it was like Shabbos, it should be two separate malachos, right? Should bring two chatos, right? But here we see a Yom Kippur eating and drinking are considered the same, right? You only bring one korban, so we see a chil and shasiyah are in the same principle category. Rabbi Abba Ma'amori Shama Laminacha. Look at it from here. It says that a person who brings up his Ma'aser Sheni to Yerushalmi, he has to say Lo achalti boni mimenu. He didn't eat it when he was in Onen, when he was in Ovel. Elo shosisi. So what about drink? He doesn't have to say. He says only I didn't eat. What about drinking? It must be that drinking is included in eating, right? That's why he doesn't have to specify drinking. So it's cute for chap from the pasuk. Okay. Nicha commando amar shvuah shlo ochal v'shosa. You should know it's good if a person took a shvuah not to eat and he drank, so drinking is included in the shvuah and he transgressed. However, b'ra commando amar shvuah shlo eshta v'achal. What about if a person took a shvuah not to drink and then he ate? That doesn't count. Is that clear? Drinking is included in eating. If you took a shvuah not to eat and you drank, so you transgressed your shvuah. But eating is not included in drinking. If you took a shvuah not to drink and you ate, so then you don't transgress the shvuah. If we go out shasiyah b'chlal achila, drinking is included in eating. Vein achila b'chlal shasiyah, but eating is not included in drinking. Okay, so one-way street, not the two-way street. Is the boy top of Teslam now? Is the boy mishmei nada? Somebody want to learn out from here. Lo suchal lecho b'sharecha. You can't eat in your own gate outside Yerushalayim. Maser degoncha, the Ma'aser Sheni of your dagon, of your grain. Tiroshcha, your wine. V'yitzarecha, and your oil. Tirosh chaze yayin. Says tirosh is grape juice, right? V'yitzarecha zu asicha. Yitzarecha is b'chlal. That's even anointing, right? That's anointing yourself with oils. That's because olive oil you don't eat. You anoint yourself. V'atorah kara soil chila. The Torah calls this eating. You see that drinking is called eating, right? So very clear. Says Am Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chani. Ve'eno mechuver. However, this drasha is not mechuver. It's not doraisa, not the drasha about drinking, but the drasha of anointing. And here we're going to switch gears. We're going to have to stop here for today. But we're going to switch gears. Now we're going to discuss sicha. There's a whole shiur. If you anoint yourself, is that considered like achila and shasiyah? And now we're saying it is, but not the raisa. Eina mechuver in Yerushalmi always means it's not the raisa. Okay, ve'eina mechuver. In Tamar mechuver, because you're going to say it's the raisa, then you kalav chutz l'chayim. You should get malchus for anointing yourself with Ma'aser Sheni oil outside Yerushalayim, and you don't. And we're going to see the same thing also applies to Yom Kippur. If you anoint yourselves with oil on Yom Kippur, then you don't get malchus for that. Okay? So that even though it sounds like it's a drasha, because it says Yitzarecha, right? Yitzarecha is going on oil. What do you do with oil? If you anoint yourself, it's not going to be a daraisa. All right, we'll come back to that tomorrow night.